My name is Violet Hayes. I'm 31 years old, and 2 months ago, I stood in family court watching my husband Julian hold up a photo of bruises on our 4-year-old son's arm. She did this because he wouldn't eat his vegetables, Julian said, his voice breaking with fake emotion. The courtroom gasped. I screamed from my seat, "You're lying! You know you did that!" The judge's gavel slammed down. "One more outburst, Miss Hayes, and you will be held in contempt." Julian won temporary custody that day. But what he didn't know was that I'd hidden a camera inside Leo's teddy bear. And for 3 weeks, that bear recorded everything. Before I tell you how the judge ordered Julian handcuffed right there in court, let me take you back to the moment my perfect marriage revealed itself as a nightmare in a designer suit. The family court judge looked exhausted. Judge Patricia Morrison had probably heard 1,000 divorce cases just like mine, or so she thought. Julian took the stand wearing his most expensive suit, navy blue, perfectly tailored. His lawyer, a woman named Christine Novak, who charged $800 an hour, smiled encouragingly at him. "Mr. Hayes, can you tell the court about the incident on March 23rd? Julian's face transformed. He looked devastated, heartbroken. His voice shook. "I came home early from work and found Leo crying in the kitchen. When I lifted his sleeve, there were bruises on his arm, fingerprint bruises. When I asked him what happened, he said Mommy grabbed him because he wouldn't eat his broccoli." He held up an 8x10 photo. The bruises were real, purple and yellow, shaped like adult fingers. The courtroom gasped. Several people looked at me with disgust. I jumped to my feet, my voice coming out as a scream. "You're lying! You know you did that! Tell them the truth!" Judge Morrison's gavel cracked like a gunshot. "Ms. Hayes, control yourself or you will be removed from this courtroom." My lawyer, a public defender named Tom Santos, who was handling 19 cases that week, pulled me back into my seat. He whispered urgently, "You cannot have outbursts. You're making it worse." But it was already worse. The judge awarded Julian temporary custody pending the final hearing in 30 days. I watched my husband walk out of that courtroom with our son's hand in his. He looked back at me once, and he smiled. Security escorted me out of the courthouse. 2 guards, one on each arm, like I was dangerous. People in the hallway stared. A woman pulled her child closer as I passed. Outside, the spring air felt too bright, too normal. How could the sun be shining when my world was ending? My name is Violet Hayes. I'm a former elementary school teacher. I married a monster in a designer suit, and I didn't realize it until it was too late. Julian hadn't always been cruel. The first 2 years of our marriage were good. Or maybe I just didn't see the signs. The way he'd criticize my cooking but call it helpful feedback. The way he'd make fun of my clothes in front of his friends but claim he was joking. The way he isolated me from my family so slowly I didn't notice until I had no one left to call. Then I got pregnant, and something in Julian changed completely. He started calling me stupid, worthless, a bad mother before Leo was even born. But he only did this in private. In public, Julian Hayes was the perfect husband, successful commercial real estate developer, volunteer at the children's hospital. Everyone loved him. That's what made this so impossible to fight. I drove to our house, the house Julian's family money had bought, the house that was only in his name because he'd convinced me it was better for taxes. The front gate code didn't work. I tried it 3 times. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. I tried the back entrance. Also changed. Then I saw them. My clothes in black trash bags, piled on the curb like garbage. My books, my photos, everything I owned. It started raining. Not a soft rain, a downpour. Cold spring rain that soaked through my jacket in seconds. I looked up at Leo's window on the 2nd floor. He was there, pressed against the glass, his small hand flat against the window. He was crying. I could see his mouth forming the word. Mama. I started running toward the house. I was going to break the door down if I had to. Then Julian appeared behind Leo. He looked right at me through the window. His face was calm, cold. He put his hand on Leo's shoulder and pulled him back. Then he closed the curtains. I stood in the rain staring at that closed window. I had no money. Julian controlled all our accounts. I had no home. I had no access to my son. And in 30 days, there would be a final custody hearing that would decide everything. I spent that first night in my car, a 2008 Honda Civic with a broken passenger window I'd covered with plastic and duct tape. I parked in a Walmart parking lot. I couldn't go to my sister. Julian had convinced her years ago that I was unstable. I'd believed him when he said cutting off my family was for our good. Now, I had nobody. The next morning, I found a lawyer. Not a good lawyer, the only lawyer I could afford. His office was in a strip mall between a check-cashing place and a vape shop. Silas Chen, 52 years old, wore the same wrinkled suit every day. But his eyes were sharp. He listened to my story without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his squeaky chair. Mrs. Hayes, I'm going to be honest with you. Your husband is rich, you're homeless, you have a public outburst on record. The family court system loves rich fathers who present well. Julian has money for expert witnesses, for child psychologists who'll say whatever he pays them to say. Unless we catch him in the act of abuse, you lose. It's that simple. I felt tears coming, but I forced them down. I'd cried enough. Then we catch him. Silas raised an eyebrow. How? I reached into my purse and pulled out Leo's spare teddy bear, the brown one with button eyes, and my grandmother's old sewing kit. I have an idea. The camera was tiny. Silas had a friend who sold surveillance equipment. We put it inside one of the teddy bear's glass button eyes. You couldn't tell unless you knew exactly where to look. The bear was voice activated. It would record whenever someone spoke near it. Battery life was 72 hours. I had one chance to make this work. The court had ordered a supervised exchange. Every Wednesday at 3 p.m., I could see Leo for 2 hours at the police station parking lot. A social worker would be present. Julian would drop Leo off. Julian arrived in his BMW at exactly 3 p.m. Leo got out of the back seat, holding his regular teddy bear, the brown one. He looked smaller than he had 2 weeks ago. Julian walked over to me. The social worker stood 10 feet away, taking notes. He looked at my car, at my wrinkled clothes. I hadn't showered in 2 days because the gym I'd been using had kicked me out. "You look like a homeless person, Violet. Sad." His voice was quiet, poisonous. "This is what independence looks like on you." I ignored him. I knelt down and hugged Leo. He clung to me. "Mama, I want to come home with you." My heart shattered. "Soon, baby, soon, I promise." I had to switch the bears. I turned so my body blocked the social worker's view. "Leo, honey, can I see Mr. Bear for a second?" He handed me the bear. I pulled the camera bear from my bag and gave it to him. "Here, this is special, Mr. Bear. He's going to watch over you. Keep him close, okay? Don't let anyone take him." Leo nodded. "Okay, Mama." 2 hours later, Julian picked him up. He didn't even look at the bear in Leo's arms. He didn't know he was taking surveillance equipment into his house. I sat in a coffee shop using their free Wi-Fi. My laptop was open to the surveillance feed. The screen was black. I waited. 5 minutes, 10, 20, nothing. Maybe the camera wasn't working. Maybe the battery died. Maybe Julian found it and destroyed it. I couldn't afford another camera. This was my only shot. 24 hours passed. Still black. I barely slept. I kept checking the feed every hour. Nothing. I started to panic. Had I failed? Was this whole plan a waste of time? 48 hours after the exchange, I was sitting in the same coffee shop. The barista was starting to recognize me, starting to look at me with pity. I opened the laptop one more time, ready to give up. Then I heard it. Static. The audio crackled to life. A child crying. Leo's voice. "I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry." Then Julian's voice. Cold, angry. "Stop crying, Leo, or I'll give you something to cry about." The camera lens cleared. I could see Julian's living room. My hands started shaking so hard I almost dropped the laptop. It was working. The bear was recording, and Julian had no idea. For the next week, I watched everything. Julian's house, Julian's life, the life he was pretending to give Leo. During the day, Julian was Father of the Year. He'd set up his phone on a tripod and record videos for social media. "Having the best time with my little man today. So grateful for this time together. #single-dad, #blessed." He'd hug Leo, smile at the camera, play with toys. The comments were full of praise. "You're such a good father. That boy is lucky to have you. His mother should be ashamed." Then he'd turn off the camera. The change was instant. He'd shove Leo away. "Go to your room. You're annoying me. Don't come out until I call you." Leo would disappear. Julian would pour himself expensive whiskey and scroll through his phone. Sometimes he talked to his mother Beatrice on speakerphone. "How's the war going, darling?" she'd ask. "Almost over. Her lawyer is a joke. Once I get full custody, we can ship the kid off to that boarding school in Connecticut. I'll have my life back." My hands clenched into fists. This proved he was terrible, but terrible wasn't illegal. I needed more. The real evidence came on a Tuesday night. I was watching the feed from my car. It was late, almost 11 p.m. I heard Julian's bedroom door open. Heavy footsteps. He was walking toward Leo's room. I sat up straighter, turned up the volume. Julian entered the nursery. He was drunk. I could tell by the way he moved. Unsteady, aggressive. Leo was asleep. The camera bear was on the nightstand, positioned perfectly to see the bed. Julian grabbed Leo's arm and yanked him awake. Leo screamed. "Did you tell the social worker what I said to say?" Julian's voice was a hiss. Leo was crying. "Yes, Daddy, I said Mama was mean." "Good. Tomorrow we go back to court. There's going to be another social worker visit. You're going to show them your arm, and you're going to say Mama did it. Do you understand?" Leo was sobbing. "You're hurting me, Daddy." Julian squeezed harder, his fingers digging in the same spot where the bruises in the courtroom photo had been. "Good. It needs to look real for court tomorrow. Now go to bed." He threw Leo back onto the bed, walked out, slammed the door. The camera captured everything. The violence, the coaching, the truth. I had him. I watched that video 3 times. I was shaking, crying, screaming in my car. Every instinct told me to drive to that house right now, to break down the door, to take my son and run. I started the engine. I was pulling out of the parking lot when my phone rang. "Silas, where are you?" His voice was sharp. "Driving to Julian's house. He hurt Leo. I just watched it happen. I'm getting my son." "Violet, stop the car." "No, I can't just sit here while—" "Stop the car." I slammed on the brakes. Silas's voice was urgent. "If you go there, you break the restraining order. You get arrested. You go to jail, and Julian wins. He gets to tell the judge you're unstable, that you're dangerous. You lose Leo forever. Is that what you want?" I was gripping the steering wheel so hard, my knuckles turned white. "I can't just watch him hurt our son." "You're not watching, you're recording. This is evidence. This is how we win. But only if you don't break now. Can you do that? Can you wait for the courtroom?" I wanted to say no. Every part of me wanted to say no. But I thought about what Silas said, about losing Leo forever. "Yes," I whispered. "I can wait." "Good. Send me that video file now. We need backups, multiple backups, and keep recording. We need as much as we can get." The next video was even worse. Beatrice came to visit. I recognized her voice immediately, that cold, sharp tone. "How is our little project going, darling?" Julian laughed. They were in the kitchen. The bear must have been nearby. "She's completely broken. Last week she was sleeping in her car. Her lawyer is some strip mall reject. She has nothing." "And the boy?" "Manageable. A few bruises here and there. Nothing that won't heal. Once the final hearing passes and I get full custody, we'll put him in that boarding school in Connecticut. 8 months a year, I'll see him on holidays." "Perfect. You'll finally be free of both of them." They clinked glasses. I could hear it through the audio. "To full custody," Beatrice said. "To freedom," Julian replied. I saved that recording, labeled it, backed it up 3 different places. These people were planning to ship my 4-year-old son away to boarding school, to get rid of him like he was an inconvenient problem. My hands were shaking with rage. But I was also smiling, because now I had everything: the abuse, the conspiracy, the motive. Julian was about to learn what happens when you underestimate the woman you tried to destroy. On day 19, Julian found the bear. I watched it happen live through the camera feed. He walked into Leo's room to wake him up for preschool. Leo was already awake, playing quietly with blocks on the floor. The bear was next to him. He stepped on something. He looked down. The bear had fallen face up. He picked it up, frowning. He stared directly at the camera eye. My heart stopped. He turned the bear over in his hands, examining it. His finger traced the loose thread where we'd inserted the camera. "This thing is falling apart." Garbage. He walked toward the trash can in the corner. I stopped breathing. If he threw it away, we'd lose the camera, lose any more evidence we could gather. He stood there for 3 seconds. Then he tossed the bear. It landed in Leo's toy chest instead of the trash, face up, camera still recording. "Clean up your toys before school," Julian said, and walked out. I exhaled. We were still recording, but it was close. Too close. 3 days before the final hearing, Julian called me. I almost didn't answer, but Silas told me to always record any interaction. I hit the record button on my phone. "What do you want, Julian?" "I want to make this easy on both of us, Vi. Sign the custody papers voluntarily. Agree to supervised visits twice a month. I'll be generous. You can video chat with him once a week." "And if I don't?" He laughed. "Then I tell the judge you're using drugs. I can pay a doctor to say anything I want. I can produce pill bottles with your name on them. I have money, Violet. You have nothing. You can't win this." 3 weeks ago, that speech would have broken me, would have made me believe I was powerless. But now I had something Julian didn't know about. I had the truth, recorded, backed up, ready to destroy him. My voice was calm, cold. "You'd better hope your money can buy you a good criminal defense lawyer." Silence. Then, "What does that mean?" I hung up. Let him wonder. Let him panic. In 3 days, he'd find out exactly what it meant. 2 days before trial, my laptop died. Not died like the battery ran out, died like the hard drive crashed. The screen went black. Nothing I did would turn it back on. I called Silas in a panic. "The video files, they're all on that laptop." "What about the backups?" "They were on the laptop too. I saved them in different folders, but it's the same hard drive." Silas swore. "We need those files. Without them, we have nothing to show the judge." We found a tech repair place that was open late. The guy looked at my laptop and shook his head. "Hard drive is completely corrupted. I can try to recover the data, but it'll take time." "How much time?" Silas asked. The tech guy thought about it. "At least 48 hours, maybe 72. "We have 24 hours, I said. "The trial is tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The tech guy looked between us, saw something in our faces. "What's on this drive?" "Evidence," Silas said. "Child abuse evidence. If we don't get it, a little boy stays with his abuser." The tech guy nodded slowly. "I'll work all night. Call me at 7 a.m. I'll tell you if I got anything, but I can't promise anything. It's 50-50 at best. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my car in the Walmart parking lot staring at the roof. At 7 a.m., Silas called the tech guy. No answer. He tried again. Voicemail. I felt my chest tightening. We were walking into court with nothing. At 8 a.m., Silas and I met outside the courthouse. I was wearing my only good suit, the one I'd worn to job interviews before Julian destroyed my reputation. I looked tired, worn down, but I wasn't broken. Not anymore. Julian arrived at 8:30. He pulled up in his BMW, stepped out looking like he'd stepped off a magazine cover. Hair perfect, suit expensive. People recognized him. He was a minor celebrity in our city. Successful, charitable, beloved. They had no idea who he really was. A woman asked for a selfie with him. He smiled, gracious. Of course, anything for a fan. Silas pulled me aside. The tech guy still isn't answering. We're going in with nothing. I looked at him. Then we stall, buy time somehow. He nodded. I'll try, but judges don't like delays. We walked inside. I felt like I was walking toward a cliff edge. Either we'd get those video files, or I'd lose my son forever. Julian took the stand first. His lawyer, Christine Novak, guided him through his testimony. He was brilliant at lying. He described a violent, unstable woman who'd abused their son, who'd refused to get help, who'd threatened him. I have proof, he said. He pulled out a notebook. This is her diary. I found it hidden in the garage. Read the entry from March 20th. Christine read it aloud. I can't control my anger anymore. Today, I grabbed Leo too hard. I saw fear in his eyes. What's wrong with me? The courtroom murmured. People looked at me with disgust. I wanted to scream that I'd never written that Julian had forged it, but my outbursts last time had hurt me. I had to stay silent. Judge Morrison looked at me. I could see the judgment in her eyes. She thought I was a child abuser. Christine continued. Your Honor, my client is simply trying to protect his son. Ms. Hayes has demonstrated violent behavior, instability, and a refusal to acknowledge her problems. We're asking for full custody with supervised visitation only. The judge turned to my table. Does the defense have any cross-examination? Silas stood slowly. He'd been checking his phone under the table. I saw his face. Still nothing from the tech guy. We had nothing. Then, the courtroom doors burst open. Silas's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen. His face changed. He looked at me and nodded. We had it. Yes, Your Honor. We have quite a bit to say, actually. Silas held up a USB drive. Your Honor, Mr. Hayes has painted a picture of himself as a loving, protective father. I'd like to show the court how he demonstrates that love when the cameras aren't rolling. Christine jumped to her feet. Objection. This is ambush, Your Honor. We weren't informed of any video evidence. Judge Morrison looked irritated. Mr. Chen, why wasn't this disclosed? Your Honor, we only recovered this evidence this morning. The files were corrupted. We literally got access 20 minutes ago. What is on this video? The judge asked. Proof that Mr. Hayes has been abusing his son and coaching him to lie about it, that every bruise on that child's arm came from his father, not his mother, and that Mr. Hayes has been planning to ship his 4-year-old son to boarding school the moment he gets full custody. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Christine was shouting about procedure, about rules. Judge Morrison banged her gavel. Enough. Given the seriousness of these allegations, I'm going to allow it. Mr. Chen, play your video. Silas plugged the USB drive into the courtroom's display system. The screens mounted on the walls flickered to life. I looked at Julian. All the color had drained from his face. He knew. Somehow, he knew what was coming. The video started. The timestamp in the corner read Tuesday, April 4th, 10:47 p.m. The camera angle showed Leo's bedroom from the nightstand. You could see Leo sleeping in his small bed. Then the door opened. Julian walked in, stumbling slightly, drunk. On the courtroom screens, in perfect high definition, everyone watched Julian grab Leo's arm and yank him awake. Leo's scream echoed through the speakers. Did you tell the social worker what I said to say?" Leo was crying. "Yes, Daddy. I said Mama was mean." "Good. Tomorrow we go back to court. You're going to show them your arm, and you're going to say Mama did it." "You're hurting me, Daddy." Julian's response was cold, clear, undeniable. "Good. It needs to look real for court tomorrow." He squeezed harder. The camera captured his fingers pressing into Leo's small arm, in the exact spot where the bruises appeared in the photo Julian had shown the court. The courtroom went dead silent. You could hear people breathing. Someone in the back gasped. On screen, Julian threw Leo back onto the bed and walked out. In the courtroom, the real Julian was frozen, his face white as paper. The video kept playing. The next clip showed Julian and Beatrice in the kitchen, their conversation about breaking me, about boarding school, about getting rid of Leo. Christine was on her feet. "Your Honor, this video could be edited. It could be AI generated. We need time to verify." "It's not edited," Silas interrupted. "We have the original files, we have metadata, we have 3 weeks of continuous footage from a camera hidden in the child's bedroom. We have everything." Julian finally moved. He stood up, his chair scraping loudly. "That's fake. This is a setup. She planted that camera illegally." Judge Morrison held up her hand. "Sit down, Mr. Hayes." "You can't believe this. I would never." "Sit down." The judge's voice boomed through the courtroom. Julian sat, but his hands were shaking. The judge's face was flushed red. Her voice trembled with barely controlled rage. "In 20 years on this bench, I have seen a lot of terrible things, but I have never seen a father deliberately hurt his child to frame the mother in court. I have never seen such calculated, cruel manipulation." She looked at the bailiff. "Call Child Protective Services. I want an emergency removal. That child is not spending another night in that house." Beatrice tried to sneak out the back door. The bailiff blocked her path. "Ma'am, sit down. You're mentioned in this video. You're going to answer some questions." The judge turned back to Julian. She removed her glasses. "Mr. Hayes, I am revoking your custody immediately. Full custody goes to Ms. Hayes, effective now. I am also holding you in direct criminal contempt of court for perjury." Christine tried one more time. "Your Honor, Your client committed perjury. He coached a child to lie. He physically abused that child to create false evidence, and he attempted to defraud this court." She looked at the bailiff. "I want him in handcuffs, right now." The bailiff walked toward Julian. He tried to stand, to run maybe, but there was nowhere to go. The bailiff grabbed his arms and twisted them behind his back. The metal handcuffs clicked into place. The sound echoed through the silent courtroom. Julian was screaming, "Do you know who I am? Do you know what my lawyers will do to you? This is a mistake. This is illegal." The bailiff wasn't gentle. He dragged Julian toward the side exit, the one that led to the holding cells. As he passed my table, Julian looked at me. His face was twisted with rage and panic. For 6 years, he'd controlled me, manipulated me, made me believe I was worthless. Now he was the one in handcuffs. I stood up slowly, looked him directly in the eyes, and I didn't blink, didn't look away. The bailiff pulled him through the door. It slammed shut. Christine was packing her briefcase, her face carefully blank. Beatrice was being questioned by a detective in the corner. Judge Morrison looked at me. Her expression had completely changed. "Ms. Hayes, I apologize. This court failed you and your son. That won't happen again." I nodded. I couldn't speak. If I tried, I'd start crying. The judge signed the custody order. Full custody to Violet Hayes. No visitation for Julian Hayes, pending criminal proceedings. This court is adjourned. I walked out of that courthouse 2 hours later holding Leo's hand. Child Protective Services had brought him directly from preschool. He was confused, scared, but safe. We got into my car, my old, broken Honda Civic with the duct-taped window, but it was ours. "Mama, is Daddy coming back?" Leo asked from the back seat. I adjusted the rearview mirror so I could see his face. "No, baby. It's just us now. Is that okay?" He thought about it, then nodded. "That's good. I like just us." I kissed his forehead, started the car. Julian was facing 5 to 10 years for perjury, evidence tampering, and child abuse. Beatrice was under investigation for conspiracy. I'd gotten the house in the emergency custody order. Everything Julian tried to take from me, I got back. But more than that, I got myself back. The woman Julian tried to break, to silence, to erase. She'd survived, and she'd won. 3 months later, I was back to teaching. Leo was in therapy, but smiling again. Julian sent letters from county jail. I never opened them, just returned them marked refused. One Saturday morning, Leo and I were planting flowers in our front yard, our yard now. He looked up at me, dirt on his nose. "Mama, are you happy?" I thought about everything. The fear, the pain, the nights in my car, the moment I decided to fight instead of give up. "Yeah, baby, I'm happy." And I was. If you've ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours, you're not alone. Drop a comment and let me know where you're from. And if stories like this mean something to you, hit subscribe so we can meet here again.